Welcome everybody to Mentor Time. Today's a topic that I have wanted to do for a while. Sue, why didn't you do it? I needed to prepare the examples and make sure that we had some strategies going forward, and I've finally been able to do that. I've presented parts of this to you all in the past and have done it in other venues. Today we're going to talk about outcomes matter, and this is really showing how you contribute to the bottom line. Whatever the bottom line is, it's not always money like I reflected here, but how your work contributes to helping achieve a larger outcome. Today's takeaway, you want to start with the outcome because in essence, it then helps you do storytelling in bite-sized chunks. This will sound familiar because when we talk about evidence-based results statements, you're writing a brief little story about how and in what way you achieved various things, starting with the evidence-based achievement. All right, how are we going to get here? We're going to talk about outcomes, evidence. I know you have questions. We're going to add a plus to our check mark to evidence. Oats aren't just for breakfast. That's all I'll say for now, and we'll learn more about oats. And as always, we end up with what should you do? Just look at the size of the oats, and that's the direction we're going in. All right, so outcomes, evidence. I want to know first, Slido or in chat, how confident are you writing evidence-based results? From 0, not at all, to 5, I can do it automatically. I'm not even sure I would give myself credit for 5, although I've been doing it for years. I'll go ahead and vote on Slido. People can add it in either place that they'd like to. Feeling generous today. I gave myself a 5. I'm grateful to have someone say they have a 2. It means they're making efforts at that. And we have 2 4s and 1 3 in the chat. I'm not surprised because these are people that have all put in time and worked with what Ron and I do and have done over the years with you all. Here's what I hear now even more when I talk about focus on outcomes. Sue, I'm not writing evidence-based results already. Isn't that enough? Yes, it is. And yes, there's an opportunity for going ahead. I put storyteller in this. I talked about this a while ago individually with someone, and she said, but Sue, I'm not a good storyteller. And you know what? I've had to learn to be better at it. So I understand it. It makes people nervous for sure. And I get this a lot. I'm an assistant. I'm a team member. I'm not leading a project, so what do I really contribute to a company's goals? People at all levels say, what do I contribute to the company's goals? And I made specifically the reference to company because many of our jobs don't intuitively go there. But first, let's go to the question I got last week or so. What about this formula? You taught us this a year and a half, 2 years ago. You gave us a worksheet that said an action verb that leads to the outcome, how I did it, who was affected, what tools did I use. Yes, all of that is good. All of that is great. But today we're going to talk about going towards outcomes first. And part of that is moving on from oats aren't just for breakfast. The reason I want to go over oats with you will be repetitive for those who were here 2 weeks ago talking about virtual visibility and scannability, and we'll get there in a minute. Let me show you what oats is. Outcomes that you contributed to is what you start with. The achievement you did. Now, in writing your evidence-based result statements, you have your achievement. Now we're going to attribute that to the higher level outcome. The tactic is how you did it. And then there's a situation issue that represents the company you're working in, the type of project is, anything that provides more context. Here's the whole thing. You'll see this again later. But the important thing is to understand, why are we doing this? 2 weeks ago, I was going in depth on virtual visibility, and I reminded you all that in Western cultures, when we open a document, when we read on screen, when we look at a piece of paper that has text on it, our eyes go to top left. Then, most of the time, many of us use the F pattern in reading and scanning. So the F on the left shows we read a lot on the top, we skip to the middle, and then we skip down the left-hand margin. That's why the left margin is your best friend. You all know this because I've presented this now 3 times over the last 4 or 5 months in different topics on visibility. Here's someone who I love dearly who let me share her resume. And in this case, I think actually this was part of her long CV. We used it the last time to talk about virtual visibility and scannability. But you can see that this would fit an F pattern easily. So as we move forward with the left-hand margin being our best friend, we're actually going to take old framing and make new framing to it, where we show the value that we're bringing to this. You're not going to be writing things that will feel uncomfortable because you'll see 2 examples of transforming basic statements to your evidence-based results to outcome-based results. I'm doing this so that you can continue to have storytelling, bite-sized chunks of your evidence-based statements when you talk about how you made contributions to something larger than your work. That helps people by capturing their attention. When I say, I increased the efficiency of 5 teams across 7 time zones. Notice I didn't say by 75%. I just said, I increased the efficiency. You probably immediately thought, oh, I want to know how you did that. What did you do? We've got 2 examples today. This first one is an example that I hear and see on the web now more frequently, and I'm happy to see it. You all learned to write these depending on how long ago we were in touch. I think each of you here took the course over 2 years ago. So people say conducted web analytics. That's great. It's a strong verb and tells me what you did, a product. To ensure the marketing campaign starts with data and analytics to develop and optimize marketing efforts. Hopefully you can see the text in there in green. We know now we're beginning to see the evidence-based results are coming forward. In fact, I would even say the outcomes. They need to develop and optimize marketing efforts. So when you write a results-based statement that's evidence-based, you might say developed and optimized marketing efforts through conducting the web analytics. And now we can say, okay, now we identify the last part of that. And the way people have been taught to write the bullets about what they've done in their job is they always end up after 2 lines with the most important information. So the most important information here is the company wants to ensure that the marketing campaign has baseline data. Why? Because, as we find in an outcome contribution statement, they want to market to increase brand recognition, to improve client information, to add clients to their roster, to do more sales. Whatever it is, marketing with that baseline data will help people be able to produce the effect that the company wants. Usually the work that you do, the achievement you have is by something or through something. By developing and optimizing marketing efforts. Now that's taking the analytics higher and saying marketing needs to be more effective, and without baseline data at the end, they can't assure that they know that they're more effective. So we now have the outcome first. And then we have what I did. I developed and optimized marketing efforts by producing this baseline data for the marketing campaign. Let's take another example. And this one, I'm seeing this more and more. I'm glad that people are adding more context to what they're doing. But I can tell you, when I first looked at it, I saw, okay, I'm seeing towards an outcome that I think they want to contribute to, a global organization's program. It's operating in 4 countries, so I know it's global. It's something that they're wanting to have work done in. I wrote an evidence-based results statement, and what I've shown you, both of these examples were taken directly off LinkedIn pages, people's job descriptions they wrote. I've modified them more towards things that don't give away who they are. I changed a few numbers around and the kinds of people they serve. I got to the end of this writing and thought, oh, I don't even know what they thought they were doing. I basically have a bullet that says, I do this. I led this. It's very impressive, but it needs a little bit bigger. So I'm thinking, okay, if it's a global program, they probably want to provide a cohesive country program in every country. When I wrote the outcome contribution statement, I made up, of course, everything in here. Improve the effectiveness in 6 months. And I added numbers about the multi-year and the size of the project. The most important thing was if you can say you improved effectiveness, for example, within 6 months, even if it took a year, but your achievement was developing and implementing SOPs for country knowledge management monthly reports. What a mouthful. I should have written something more easy for me to pronounce. Even though I want evidence-based statements, I know that we can't always say how much we increase the effectiveness of it. But you all know, if you develop an SOP and someone implements it and suddenly within a few months you're getting more reports with less cleaning up to do, or you're getting the same number of reports and they're in better shape, you have evidence of effectiveness. And this, as you can look quickly along here, the left-hand margin, where you start with the outcome, attracts people's interest. Improve the effectiveness. We all want to know, how did you do it? Increased attendance annually at a conference, whatever you did, people will say, show me the how, show me what you did. And you position yourself as providing a solution while you're showing that you're aware that your work contributes up. The examples I gave didn't deal with people like Peter who run a consulting practice and have different jobs, but we can get to those. I just wanted to give you some things that may help you at this point. So now I'd like you to pull out your screen, pull out a piece of paper, and I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. And I want you to take this statement that someone might have written as a trainer. How would you write this to get an outcome contribution statement? And if that's too difficult for you, I went through this pretty quickly, write me an evidence-based results statement, because right now it's not written it's a doing statement, not a done statement. Anybody want to volunteer to either talk about it and how it felt to do it, or to give us some wording?
Just to say that I'm glad you made us do this, because once I started, it was much harder than I thought it would. So I'm going to let somebody else go because I feel like I didn't do a super great job.
All right, Stephanie, we'll see. Sheila said, improve client retention and acquisition within 8 months by creating a health education curriculum for onboarding training, including content and materials, to something about client interactions for numbers of country entities. Pom-poms to you. You can write all the examples now. You've got this down. You did a great job, Sheila. Thank you. And Peter wrote, improve company client retention and acquisition. You both got that. That's great. It's the very last part. By creating health education, onboarding, training curriculum, and X modules, videos, whatever used in X locations. That's also great, Peter. Excellent. So how did it feel to write those? And then I'll ask Ron for comments after that.
Well, I appreciate Sheila putting in that you were going to put in numbers, like insert numbers about X number of modules and X number of locations, because I assumed that would be a good thing to do. And that's what I had started doing when I was crafting it over.
Great, yes. And sometimes you don't have those numbers, but it was Peter who talked about modules and things. What he did is, even without numbers, he could say, for varying learning styles, including live office hours, webinars, and videos and coursebook or something like that. So remember, those are the tactics, those are the how, those aren't what you achieved. It's what your result would be built on, the technical expertise that you bring. I will show you what I wrote, and then I'm going to stop and see if Ron has comments because he hasn't seen this yet. I wrote something very similar: ensured client acquisition and retention by updating clients on org services. It looked like they're trying to be online health education, answer everything, and sell more services through educating new hires on health ed with new content materials. But I like the ones you two wrote better. So Ron, comments? We're not at the end yet, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
see what your thinking was.
Yeah, it's interesting, this whole exercise for me. It's about, I think I've shared this with you before, Sue, is the idea that often you take a statement and you turn it upside down. And that's essentially what everybody did here. They grabbed the bottom, shook it, and then it falls down. It's not easy, but the point is here is, what does it matter to the organization? And clearly, the organization cared about client acquisition and retention. And so that's what we bring out. All the examples that we're seeing bring that out. And then, of course, because there's the tendency to say, oh, I designed a bunch of training stuff. And that's the doing. And I'm proud of the doing because it was good stuff. So there's a tendency, I think, to want to say those things. But as you have been pointing out to us, is that this is really about why is the organization a better organization because of work I did? And clearly, it's about client acquisition and retention. So I really like how this turned out.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments you want to make about seeing this and trying this out? If you don't, that's fine. I'm just curious. This is your chance. Sheila, go ahead, of course.
Oh, thank you. I'm just wondering, for example, in my position where I'm offering technical support, and in many cases, I'm not the one directly implementing some activities. So using this example, how would I phrase it from a technical support aspect, but still show outcome and those measures?
So think about, for all of you that provide a service to someone else and you're not in direct control of that. This was someone who was going to be hired to do training or is training people to be directly doing that. You might say something like, increase the capacity of a 500-person organization to deliver timely education by blah, blah, blah. So you're talking in technical support roles about increasing capacity, improving performance, increasing the effectiveness of performance. If you were a trainer, to bring in training supervisors to do on-the-job training instead of taking people out for in-service once a month. That might be improving the effectiveness of what supervisors do or how the org runs. That's really quick, Sheila, the thumbs up, great. Just before we jump ahead, because we're going on to what should you do, I will be putting these into a worksheet. I didn't get all the examples done in time to put together a worksheet, and I wanted to get feedback from all of you as well. So thank you all for doing that activity. You did a great job. So what should you do? It looks like I'm saying, jump in, everything should be oats. I think you need to increase your oats little by little. Maybe you need more fruit on it right now. You don't need to be writing all of these. Let me show you. This will look familiar to what I showed you that we've been working with on the evidence-based result statements, where I had a worksheet similar to this. So your outcome, affected, increased, ensured. There are going to be some repetitive words there because we're rolling up to a bigger amount. So when you say delivered, that's not necessarily the company's mission and goals, unless they're a shipping company, and then delivered may be the word you want. Your achievement's going to be by or through, decreasing, spearheading, developing. All of those strong verbs you all have in your CV and resumes right now are going to stay. You'll just put them in a different place and show your achievements through decreasing something, increasing something. The tactics are how, and or by. I haven't found too many, what do you call those? I want to say conjunction words, the joining words. And then the situation It might be issue is in the case of moving from HIV ARTs for treatment to HIV PrEP for prevention, which tells people a topical thing. I will get the worksheet, the Google slide, so that anybody can work at it. I'd like you to think about in the next 24 hours, slowly, what's one thing can you do to apply OATS to your resume, what you're writing right now? I just want to get you an action-oriented opportunity to plant your learning in an activity in the next 24 hours so that you'll hopefully start using it more. Ron's going to adjust his biopara with an OATS approach. Ron, I love that. Yay. As Ron and I say, we're not necessarily looking for a job.
Sue, I noticed you're breaking up, by the way. Your audio is breaking up a bit.
You're getting my microphone.
I should have said something earlier.
Is that any better, Ron?
Oh, much, much better.
Peter said he's going to review jobs on his resume with the worksheet from Sue. Okay, good. Hiram said add this to a source in his notebook LM. Yeah, I love that. I'm fine with using AI that he uses to revise his resume to align with project management examples. It's great. Whatever works for you, however it works for you. And Sheila wants to know.
I was just echoing Ron's sentiments that I will not just be doing the OATS approach in my biopara, but in the whole CV.
Great. Yes, and the biopara won't look that different. It will, instead of saying Sue recently produced blah, 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 you'll raise it to Sheila, enhance the capacity of BRAC to deliver financial services training through blah, 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 all the trainings you've developed, Sheila, and all of that. Thank you. Thank you. Great commitments. Thank you very much. So remember the takeaway. Today's takeaway, starting with the outcome, gets you storytelling in bite-sized chunks. And it also gets you something I started saying back in 2018. It helps you speak to the other side of the convo, or as Sue says, and I now use it with my grandchildren, don't make me do your work for you. Meaning, if you want me to hear about how great you are, talk to me in a way I can hear it. Also, I believe will give you more confidence in the stories that you tell, because you'll have the evidence for showing that you know how you contribute. You know where your place is in the value chain of work, and you know what you contribute to overall that helps an org, helps your own consulting practice, however it is. Ron, your opportunity to comment overall, and then we'll open it for questions.
Yeah, and my comment is this is hard. I think actually what we saw today was some pretty great stuff. These outcome statements that were done by folks were really good. And it's interesting how consistent they were, very similar words and so on and so forth, because it became easy because we were coached prior to that. But this is hard stuff. And so what I was thinking is that while you say start with the outcome, you're really talking about the final result statement is going to start with the outcome. But to do the work, you just got to start. In other words, say whatever, get it on paper, and then grab it. It's remarkable the number of times that the thing that matters is at the very end. It happens a lot. And that's my finding from decades of work in this stuff. I got to the point where I was often looking in a completely different place than everybody else was talking. And so that's often at the end how the organization's better off because of whatever it is that you're doing. And so this is hard. Get it down and then ask the so what question. So what? I did this. Why does the organization care? And the organization cares, and then looking there and you find it. And it turns out that, hey, they care about retention, or they care about this, they care about whatever. And that's actually why they hired you. And so that's why the next organization is going to be interested in you, because you've demonstrated that you can do stuff like they're going to want you to do when you come into their organization. It's what is the other side thinking? How can this person make my life better because they're working for me now and they're doing the kind of stuff they've already demonstrated they can do. And it's interesting, you can do these things. And the question is, can I help the person I'm trying to talk to see why it matters And so that's really what we're talking about, is getting that into your CV, your resume, all the things, so that you are telling a story about why you should be taken on by the organization. So thanks, Sue, for giving us this chance.
Any comments?
My guess is everybody thinks this is easy. No?
Not easy. But yeah, I agree. I think it was just taking the statement. I actually retyped what Sue had on the slide, and then I was able to copy and paste and move things around easily that way. So just like Ron said, take that statement and then you can rejuggle it and start to ask so what question. I think that's really helpful.
And both of you have said this in different ways. That's how we've written those statements forever. And that's why the STAR story starts with situation, task, action, result, and ends with the result. And you remember, Ron, a year and a half ago, I said, look, we need to start talking about outcomes. And I just didn't get to it. I got bits and pieces of it. That's why I wanted to switch out what we were supposed to do today. We'll do on the 1st of September, because I really wanted to have you all be able to position yourselves. I want to try to share more of this in, probably I'll do an extra periodic message to people to say, here's a way you can stand out, as we're seeing the timing for late August, early September is there's another 2 to 3 month push for hiring just before the end of the year, although there is hiring during the festive work season, the holiday season as well. I want you all to have this information. And most of the time, what you all are writing now that I've seen from each of you pretty recently is your stuff is in there. You just have to reorganize it. So thanks, Peter, for reminding me, because if I do this again, I'll make sure I put the text in the chat box so people don't have to type the whole thing. I appreciate it. So I'll ask Ron to close the meeting. We're meeting in 2 weeks on the 1st of September. And that's the one on Use Your Words. It's all about making sure that you've filled everything you can, mostly in LinkedIn, but any platform that you're on. We're going to talk about why location can help you as long as you've got words and you've taken advantage of text boxes they give you. All right, Ron, if you'll go ahead and close the meeting.
Yeah, thanks very much, Sue, for an excellent presentation. And thank everyone for your contributions. This is a little more active session than we often have, because often it's a sit back and Sue helps us by understanding. But today we all got a chance to practice and to share our results. And so thank you, Sue, for that opportunity. And I look forward to seeing everyone on Labor Day. I guess it's a holiday for others, but we will be working hard to try and help. So see you in a couple of weeks.